Hey, coaches, how's it going? Coach T here. Today, I want to talk a little bit and dive in a little bit into the topic of systematic play calling. So, a lot of times you hear people say, well, that's, a great system he's running, or that guy, that quarterback is only benefiting because it's a system, or he's a system quarterback. He'll never amount to anything in the NFL or things like that. So I want to talk about systematic play calling in the air raid offense. A little bit about myself. My name's Shay Townsend. I coach here at Swansboro High School in North Carolina, and I worked for the East Carolina University football team from 2008 to 2012. The latter end of that was when Lincoln Riley and a lot of the Dennis Simmons, a lot of the staff from Mike Leach's Texas Tech staff came over, and Lincoln Riley was our offensive coordinator at the age of 27. He was like 4 years older than me at that time, and was a D1 offensive coordinator. So I was able to be around him and learn a lot from him. And a lot of this stuff right here is kind of based off kind of old school Hal Mummy stuff, the way Mike Leach does it, and then clearly down the air raid tree a little bit, how Lincoln Riley, um, you know, called plays, putting it all in a system type format. So we'll talk about that. So systematic play calling in the air raid offense. So we'll get in a little bit about how we group this stuff and why we do it. All right. So why? Um, the good thing about systematic play calling is it takes a lot of pressure off you as a play caller, for one, because everything's kind of right there in front of you. All the thinking and the pressure is kind of done, before the game. I'll be the first to admit I was a offensive coordinator in for a high school team when I was 23, was when I first became an offensive coordinator. And at that time, I'd had some experience being around guys, and I felt very confident in, you know, teaching plays, installing plays, developing, quarterbacks and receivers, and helping them to understand the plays and the system, basically. What I found quickly that I was not experienced in and not very confident or comfortable with was play calling. So there's a big difference in, being a good offensive coordinator, being a good quarterback coach, being a good receivers coach, and being a good play caller. Because it has to be methodical. It has to be thought out. Sometimes, you have to, sometimes you're lucky you call the right play at the right time. Sometimes you call the wrong play, and, sometimes it works out in your favor if a guy, can make a couple guys miss or make a spectacular catch. So, we've had a lot of downtime here in North Carolina. We didn't have a season yet. We're supposed to play it in February. So I've kind of taken this time to kind of reach out to some other air raid coaches and kind of get their perspective on how they group plays and how they play call. I wrote an article about a month ago about installing the air raid at the high school level, and I got reached out to a lot by coaches all over the country, asking questions and things like that, which is awesome. I'm always willing to, any little bit that I know, help out in any way I can. But one of the things that a lot of coaches wanted to know was, how do you take those plays? How do you group them? How do you know when to call this play? How do you know when to call that play? How do you know this is a good play to call in this situation? How do you know that that's a good play to call in that situation? Well, what do you do when you get a short field in the red zone and all your concepts are shrunk? So we'll kind of talk about that, and hopefully that'll kind of clear those things up for you and kind of help you guys understand more that play calling is different. I'll be the first to admit that my first couple of years, why I think I struggled so much, not that I struggled, we still moved the ball and were pretty efficient and score points, but I just didn't get that idea yet of stop worrying about so much what the defense is doing. Stop game planning against the defense so much. Stop worrying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. What are they going to do on Friday? Because half the time we will game plan against a certain front or a certain coverage, and we get there Friday and they're in something completely different. We just wasted 4 days. So what this is going to do to help you, it's going to eliminate that game planning. Don't worry about whatever team you're playing on Friday. Worry about yourself. Worry about your receivers and your quarterbacks knowing what to do pre-snap against a zone, against a man, against a certain coverage. So you're kind of game planning while you're running the play. You're game planning pre-snap because you're looking at the defense. And again, what that's going to do is allow you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to not prepare against a certain defense, but to get as many reps as you can against, what all possibilities, basically. So you don't get there Friday night and you're like, oh, well, now we got to cover 2-man, or they're dropping 8 on us and we didn't plan for that, so we don't know what to do. Well, that'll kind of eliminate all this. So that's why we do it. So first, my first bullet point here is you eliminate hesitation. With that being said, you're looking at what you have in this situation. You're getting the play in quick. So your quarterback has it within the first few seconds of the play clock running off. Now he's able to scan the field, read the defense, find the softest corner, read leverage, make his checks if he needs to, or tags if he needs to. And if it's there, you're on the ball and you're running it, and the defense is, kind of thrown off because, you're moving and your tempo is so good, which is very important in this type of offense. So then that rolls right into the next point. You're maximizing your tempo. You're simplifying your game planning like we always talked about, and then you plug and play. So what I mean by that is creating a system. Lincoln Riley always got a lot of flack, at where he went at East Carolina, and everybody said, well, that quarterback's not really that good. He's just in a system that, allows him to put up, crazy stats. And to a certain extent that's true. At East Carolina, he's taking walk-ons and 1 and 2 stars and putting up crazy numbers and breaking reception records with guys that, really nobody else wanted. And now he's at Oklahoma, and clearly we know, how that's working out, because now you're plugging 4 and 5 star quarterbacks and receivers and running backs into this system, and it's just it's a perfect storm. So that's a little bit about why we do it. So I'll kind of go to the next slide here. A couple points I want to make on this is, one thing is, as a coach, I found out I've changed my play card, probably 8 times. Every year I have a new play card, and every year I think this play card is more efficient than the play calling card that I had last year. And what I found out is it's really irrelevant. If you look at Lincoln Riley right here, or if you've watched a Oklahoma game or ECU game or a Texas Tech game in which he was coaching, or even Leach, it looks like their plays are written on the back of a receipt that has been crumpled up in his pocket and run through the washing machine about 3 or 4 times. And you can kind of see it there. It's about the size of a note card. It's tiny. I mean, my dudes at Oklahoma, and they can't even get it laminated for him. And then you look to the right here, Chip Kelly, he's, almost looks like he has a novel. He's flipping back and forth. He's probably got 1 million plays in there. And not saying that that's not effective. It can be. But if you're trying to move quick, tempo, like, you need to have the play in within the first few seconds after you run a play. And flipping through a novel and stuff like that's going to kind of not allow you to do that and keep your tempo up, which Chip Kelly does a great job with tempo, and I'm not knocking him. I'm an Eagles fan, and I might still be a little salty for, what he came in and did to the organization, but that's another story. But I will say, if you're pointing it out now in a college setting, my guy Link on the left here is putting up way more points than the dude on the right. So the point I just wanted to make was, your play calling card does not have to look like a menu from Waffle House. Like, It doesn't have to. It can be very simple. And I'll kind of show you how we simplify that. And if you ever wonder kind of what's on Lincoln's little receipt that he got out of the laundry, I'll kind of clear that up for you. So we'll go into our next, how we're going to group our plays. So what we do is we split the field up into different zones or sections. So you see up here in the top, I've got highlighted on the football field the -5. So we call that backed up. Now you don't have to limit it to this amount of plays. This is just data driven and kind of what we've come up with over the years of, how many plays do you need for each situation. So what we've come up with is in the -5 backed up, you need 3 plays. You need your best quick game play, your safest play. Okay. I would not say that a quick screen is very safe on the goal line, because if it gets picked, the guy's walking in. What I would say is a safe play is stick. If I was, plugging in my best quick game play there, my safest one would be why stick for me. Then you're going to need your best run play, because obviously in some situations you're going to need to, grind out some yards and try to get where you can, be comfortable enough to open things up a little bit. So have your best quick game, your best run play, and then your best play action off your best run game. So once you run the play, if you really, depending on if you're 3rd and long at that point or whatever, and you just have to take, your shot to try to get the first down. Me personally, I would play action off of dart or GT counter, and then I would throw Y cross in this situation. Those would probably be my 3 backed up -5 plays. So if you had your little note card or whatever, you got -5, you got your 3 plays on there. And now keep in mind, like, your formation is going to dictate a lot. And if you're on the right hash, the middle, or the left hash is going to dictate your formation call. So if I'm on the left hash, I'm probably not going to go, late or trips left where I'm all jammed up unless I was trying to take a shot. So your formation doesn't need to be on the play card. It needs to be your 3 plays. And then your formation is really the only thing you're coming up with on the fly. All right. So that's your -5 backed up. Our next zone is what we call the -20. So you're backed up and you're on 20. So I call this the -20 to the -5. So you got a 15-yard window here. I think it's a good medium to kind of have 6 plays right here. So the way we group those and the way we, put those together is we have now our 2 best run plays, because you're going to want to develop a run game. So this could be, dart, GT counter, some type of power, some type of jet sweep, some type of fake in a quarterback run or a zone read, whatever, 2 of your best run plays are. And then 2 of your best quick games. So at this point you have a little bit more comfortable, cushion. So if you want to throw a screen or a delayed screen that's still pretty safe, that they can't really jump and, walk into the end zone. And then I would take, and then I would have 2 drop back concepts. So, for a lot of air raid guys, you can go sail, mesh, stick, or not stick, cross, shallow, 6, whatever you want to plug in there for your 2 drop back concepts. And I'll kind of get further into which drop back concepts you might want to focus on, but kind of backed up is kind of whatever data driven, or, if you go back and look at film, hey, we were backed up and these 2 plays, percentage wise worked really well for us, then I would plug those in there. All right, next we get to the open field portion. So this is the -20 to the +20. So here's really where you can open things up. Okay, so right here I like to have 10 plays. I like to have 4 runs. So probably 2 runs where, you have a specialized blocking with a pulling guard or something like that. So dart, GT counter, any of those things. And then I would also like to have 2, like an inside zone or outside zone or some type of draw. Now, if you're playing a team that drops 8 on you, if you're getting a tight front, one of those plays would probably need to be draw if they're just dropping people back. And so kind of go with what they give you. Then your 4 drop back concepts, I would narrow that down to 4. And that would be, kind of, dropbacks that you can run at any point on the field. Mesh, I feel like, is one that you can run really no matter where you're at. 6 is kind of different because that's one that is good for this area, but may not be good, if you have a short field. You can go shallow, sail, cross, whatever you want to do there. But come up with plays that you feel like are good for any situation. And then 2 quicks. Again, here you go quick. I like stick. If you're getting man, I like corner. If you are getting a lot of soft, zone, then run some quick screens in there, get the ball on the perimeter, get guys in space, and let them go to work. So open field, I like to have 10 plays. And so we're moving on. Now we are in the plus 20, which is the red zone. And here's where it gets a little tricky for air raid coaches, because if I can go ahead and tell you, as a play caller, as a air raid guy, you want to score on these plays. You don't want to get into what we're going to get into next, which is the plus 5, because typically, our system, our offense is not a power, like, let me just line up and pound you for 5 yards and get in the end zone. A lot of times we're running this offense because we can't do that. So I want to score on one of these plays from inside the 20 or from the open field. So we've narrowed this down to 6 plays. You're going to have 2 runs, which, again, plug that in, systematically driven off data. If you would like, if this is your first, time trying to install this or incorporate this system, you're going to blindly do it. And then, it might take 2, 3, 4 years before you really figure out, okay, this play is great inside the 20. This run play has not been good for us inside the 20. So that's not going to be one of our 2 runs. So that's something that kind of over time develops. And then I would have 2 quick games. Again, I like stick, I like corner, slant, shoot, some type of quick game where if you catch it, it's good for a good possession, but it's also one of those, if the defender, chooses wrong or misses, then you can run, you can score off those too. And then your 2 best dropbacks that hit big. So what I mean by that is, again, like I said, we're trying to score from this area of the field. We're not trying to settle for a field goal. We're not trying to get a first down inside the 5-yard line. We're trying to score. So, again, data-driven, analysis. When you look at your 2 best drop back plays that hit big, those would be the 2 that I would plug in here. So at the end of a season or a game, if you're like, well, 85% of the times we ran mesh, we got 20 yards, or 60% of the time we ran 6, we got over 20 yards, things like that. I would plug in your 2 best dropbacks that give you, the best chance to score on that. Don't hit something under, try to eliminate dropbacks that, you're just going to catch a 5-yard route or something like that. If shallow is good for you and you're able to hit the shallow and your guy always gets it and is able to run, or you have a good shallow runner that can score in space, then that's okay too. All right, now we're getting into what I call the danger zone as an air raid guy. This is where we struggle, okay? Because you got to think about it like this. All our offense is based off of is stretching the defense out and making them cover the entire field. Well, now the entire field is very small. So it really shrinks your concepts down, okay? So I've narrowed this down to 7 plays, okay, inside the red zone. And I will go ahead and say that these would also be, your 2-point plays. So if you're going to go for 2, just go right off your plus 5 little section on your little receipt there, and pick one of those plays. So 3 runs, 3 of your best runs that are going to get you yards. And again, it might be based off, how many people are in the box, how many people are spread out. I know if you watch the ECU game from 2012 to 2015, anytime we were in the red zone, we were 5 wide and quarterback draws coming. We're going to spread the defense out, get nobody in the box. In fact, give us numbers in the box with only 5 linemen and let our quarterback find the one hole or the one guy unblocked. And then if they still stack the box, get out on the perimeter real quick or throw something quick to the guy that's open. So then, like I said, three quicks, and then your best percentage quick hitting drop back concept. So now you're taking what I just told you about the red zone, about your longest hitting drop back concepts, and now you're picking just your best short hitting, drop back concept. So that might, if you only get 10 yards or 8 yards every time you run shallow cross, then take that 8 yards and plug that in here. Because like I said, everything is shrunk at this point, so you're not really stretching the field. So those are your 7 red zone plays. I would have 3 runs, 3 quicks, your best percentage quick hitting drop back concept. So I hope that kind of helps you guys kind of understand, because I know for me, my biggest question mark was always play calling. Like I feel like I did everything else really good. I just didn't feel comfortable going into a game, not really confident in every play we were calling, or blindly calling plays just off of the flow of the game or emotion or things like that. Okay. And one thing I will say too is if you're in this area and you've ever, coached against the defense or ran a defense against one of my offenses, I love double moves. That's my biggest. I just love double moves. I think they're always effective. I like drawing you in with short passes, and then I like hitting you with a double move for a home run. That's what I like to do. The problem with that is that I've had to, grow as a coach and say, look, the problem with double moves is if we're calling a double move, we're basically selling out to that one play, right? So if I call a stop and go and the corner doesn't bite on it, then that's our only option really, with kind of getting away from double moves and, just concepts where it does, you still have 3 or 4 options, I guess is what I'm saying. Not saying that there's not, a time and a place for double moves, because I guarantee you I'm still going to run them. And our percentage on running them is really good. So just kind of throwing that out there, that you kind of have to discipline yourself as a coach, because I love running offenses. I love offense because I love being creative. I love, finding different ways to run mesh. I love finding creative ways to run any drop back we have. But I will say that I'm guilty as anybody for watching a college football game on Saturday and saying, I'm going to put that in this week, and we're not going to get a lot of practice on it, but I like it and I want to put that in. I used to do that all the time, and sometimes it works, but you kind of have to discipline yourself and take a step back and say, look, you got to sell out to these plays and you got to get really good at these plays. So that would be my recommendation in, creating a systematic play calling type deal. Or if you're going to make a play card, I would space it out into those plays, like know what you're going to run inside the 5 backed up, know what you're going to run in the -20, know what plays you can run in the open field, know what plays you're going to run in the red zone, and know your options, on the goal line on the +5. All right. And again, that's how they fit all that on that little card. Because I know, just like me, I always wondered, like, how are they calling plays off that? Especially when I used to watch Mike Leach when he was at Texas Tech. So that being said, another thing I'll say about that is, in the open field, you're probably going to have all your dropbacks, mesh, shallow. It sounds like a small amount of plays, but that's what the air raid is, right? But you're running those out of different formations. So again, I wouldn't put the formation on your play call sheet. It just says like straight mesh. But then when we're calling the play, we could go early mesh, late mesh, douche mesh, and throw motions in there. So just because it looks like only 10 plays in the open field, it's, 10 plays out of different formations to the defense that looks like 100 plays. So keep that in mind too. So I wouldn't waste time charting formations or anything like that. All right, guys. So I hope that helped you a little bit. It's one of the questions I always had, and that I always got from other coaches, which, how do you group your plays? How do you play call? How do you know what to call here? How do you know what to call there? So again, there's my information. Email me anytime if you have any questions. That's my Twitter. You can hit me up on Twitter anytime you want. And again, if you'd like to take a look at that article about installing the air raid, I'll drop that in the description here. And I hope all that helps you guys out a little bit, because these were a lot of the questions that I always had and I'm always trying to grow at. So hopefully this helps you become more confident as a play caller and evolve a little bit as a play caller. So have a good one, guys. Like I said, contact me if you have any questions or want any, info on anything else. All right, see you guys.